Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Warrior, Season 3, Episode 8. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So obviously, it's Lee Young and Mai Ling's wedding. Wasn't expecting this to be like where it is. I mean, it's at the end of the season. There's only 2 more episodes, but kind of felt like this would probably be like maybe the penultimate episode, if not even the season finale. So for it to be episode before the penultimate episode of the season is kind of interesting. But it is this complicated thing of like, right, there's kind of like all this celebration, but then there's also kind of this, complicated nature of like, right, Assam is kind of happy because it's like, hey, my sister, despite everything, issues and all that aside, that's still your sister, feeling however you want to feel about her. It's complicated, and that's also Young Jun's issue, that it's like, regardless, family's family, and it's like, all the points that Hong made last episode are like, right, he'd die or dice for you, and it's like, I don't think he would. It's like, because it's like, when it comes down to it, if he had to choose between Mai Ling and the Hop Wei, would he choose the Hop Wei? And Young Jun's feeling less and less likely that will be the case. So it's like you see Assam kind of like gives his sister the wink, and you see Young Jun kind of look at him. It's like, yeah, that says it all. So, but the wedding goes down. It's this beautiful celebration, and then the elders pull Lee Young aside, Kung Pak included, being like, so now that you're married to Mai Ling, maybe you can basically like keep her in check. And he's like, No. Because they're like, yeah, well, Mai Ling is obviously leading, the Long Z, but come on, you'll be the one that really like whispers in her ear, is like basically keep her ambition in check. But him is like, no, we follow one voice. That one voice to the Long Z is Mai Ling's and no one else's. But they're like, no, it has to be yours. And even Kompak's like, okay, guys, give me a second. Maybe it's gonna mean a lot more to coming from me now, because Kompak has been on the whole, Mai Ling is wilding for a while now. He's been like this for a while, and I've talked about it. Other people have talked about how he's planted that seed early on of like, thought Long Z was setting you up to be the person who succeeded him. And even Kompak straight up asked, who ended up killing Long Z? How did Long Z die? And it's like, well, the only person who knows is Assam and only person who knows is Assam, Mai Ling, and even Long Z, but obviously he's dead. So, and Lee Young are the only ones who know the truth about what happened, because everyone else thinks Bolo did it. So, and Lee Young can't really say anything, and he made sure not to say anything to Mai Ling, but you could tell she was like, something's up. I guess she heard through the grapevine about what that meeting was really about, because it was mainly elders there, but maybe there were other like Long Z members there or something. Like how she found out about it, maybe she just like, she's got a BS detector, and it was blaring. I legitimately, and it's stupid on my part, I legitimately was like, I actually don't know which one of them actually called that order. Was it Lee Young? Because it'd be surprising if it was Lee Young. It's unsurprising if it's Mai Ling. But I thought like it'd be interesting if it was Lee Young, because it's like, would he really go that far? But we've seen time and time again, Lee Young's always been kind of the voice of reason. Mai Ling's always been the one with all the heat and the spice about like, I'll do whatever I need to do. Because once again, she will justify everything for like, I'm doing this for the Long Z. It's about her. Once again, under different circumstances, Mai Ling would be leading the Long Z very differently. It's because of her situation, her marriage to a warlord, and what that did to her. It jacked her up mentally, and it's like, I'm never going to be that weak person again. Like, it created like this power complex in her where she's like, I never want to be subservient to another person. I want to be the one with power, because I want to be the one who takes advantage of people. I never want to be taken advantage again. That's why the Eliza thing, it's like, right, I was trying to take advantage of you and you kind of turned it on me. Like, there was a part of her actually kind of getting seduced by like, Eliza in that life, but it is that thing of like, right, I learned my lesson, which not really, considering she's still in bed with Buckley, because she kind of had to be, once again, because it's a mutually beneficial thing. But Mai Ling is who she is, and the moment something stops being mutually beneficial, she'll kind of cut loose. She knows that about herself. You can only assume she knows that's about Buckley, because Buckley's kind of presented himself that way as well. So, but we find out, like, because she had all the elders executed. She was even going after Kong Pak, and then luckily he survived, and he came straight to murder her. And Leong's almost like, wait, you did what? Once again, she made this point of, I'm not going to hide anything from you. We're going to have these conversations. She tries to justify it. Hey, I did this so you wouldn't have to make the tough choice. No, because you didn't do it because you knew Leong would try to talk you out of it. This man would fight for you. He would die for you. He would kill for you. And yet you still do stuff behind his back. This is it's happened multiple times, but to Leong's understanding, this is 3 times you've done certain things behind his back that he hasn't coped. Like he doesn't, it's like, right. All the Long Z's money kind of got tied up because of the Eliza situation. Then you went and made that deal with Assam behind my, Buckley and kind of like Assam, like all that kind of happened. Like she's making so many unilateral decisions. To be fair, she's the leader of the Long Z. She doesn't have to really check in with anyone, but there is a checks and balances to some extent because the elders are there, and she kind of removed that check and balance. So she's kind of she's on her dictatorship. To be fair, she's been on her dictator grind for a while now, but it's like some very I don't know on the hierarchy of things which one's worse, a dictator or a tyrant. I feel like tyrant has even more of a sting to it than dictator. Maybe they're probably equal. I mean, for all I know, a dictator might even be worse than a tyrant, but I mean, they're both bad. So, but it's like, she's been in her bad. Dictator, tyrant, whatever the case may be, she's on some total, I'm going to butcher this word because I always struggle to say it. Totalitarian, reign with an iron fist that she kind of has. She would probably never see it that way, but that's exactly what it is. And when the time came, Leong had to put Kong Pak down, begging him, do not make me do this. It's like, right, I warned you. She will never stop, so I can't either. Which parallels neatly with Home Dude, who Kong Pak had to kill a couple episodes back, where he's like, she might have you by the balls, but not me. Which Kong Pak was like, I understand, I respect that, and killed them. But he was probably hoping, like, maybe I could talk Leong into reining her in. Because he could see the writing on the wall, and Leong refused to see it because all he sees is the woman he loves. I can only assume, like, they haven't really talked about it, but he has to know about her circumstances. So he's it's like, right, love kind of blinded him to a lot of her fault. And she has she recognizes how messed up what of a messed up situation she put Leong in. He had to kill the man that wasn't just a friend. He was a literal brother to you. I mean, not literal blood brother, but you get what I mean in every other capacity but blood. He was a brother to you, and you had to kill him to protect your wife. And it's just like, she's like, I'm sorry, I did it for us. And he's just like, leave, go now. It's like, she knows she messed up. And the fact of the matter is, you have the one person who's been ride or die by your side, who's been with you every step of the way, who's stood up for you every step of the way, and you continue to make unilateral moves behind his back. And even to the point later on, he's talking to Chow, he's like, what am I supposed to do? Kong Pak was right. I refuse to see Mai Ling for who she is. And it's like, Mai Ling, faults and all, will always do what's best for her. Even bluntly saying, marrying you was that too, which it was. I even said then, it was like, oh, it's almost that like situation of, oh my God, we're almost on the verge of a breakup. Let's get married or have a kid to kind of fix our relationship. That was Mai Ling doing. She knew Leong was pulling away from her, so she needed to rein him back in because he's the only, because even Chow's like, no, I do believe she loves you, but she cannot do this without you. So I don't think Leong's long for this world. I think when the time comes, because if he tries to go after Mai Ling still has the Assam situation in the back pocket. Regardless of their beef, he already stepped in once before to stop her from getting killed by Bolo, regardless of it. And it's like, even despite their issues, I could definitely see Leong and Assam duking it out because Leong probably plans on like usurping her and taking the position. I don't know. But like, Mai Ling kind of dug her own, like, in a figurative sense, she kind of dug her own grave, definitely putting herself close to one because of this. And now Leong's kind of torn. And I think that's a beautiful parallel because literally both Tongs are in a complicated position right now because of these siblings, because of Mai Ling and because of Assam. They have come and fucked shit up. They are throwing off the balance of everything. Leong doesn't know what to do about the whole Mylene thing because that trust has been destroyed. Same thing for Young June. He's barely holding on to any trust that he has for Assam because he already made all his points last episode to Hong. He's talking to his dad this episode, and it's like, yeah, Mylene is very ambitious, and so is her brother. It's like, yo, he would never. Assam isn't like her. It's like, yeah, but he's not like, he isn't driven by the same thing, but he's just as ambitious as she. Like, he will, like, you know, if you're not careful, will come for the throne. But it's like, no, Assam would never, like, yeah, he's effed up right now, but the fact is, he would never, like, try to take the tong. And Father June's like, I never thought you would. And Young June had, around that time was like, does seem like he was already listening to his father a little bit, but that brotherhood, that friendship, I mean, it directly parallels Kong Pak and Leong's situation to some extent, and it might even come down to that, especially when you have Yan Mi. I think I kept calling her Yan Min. It's Yan Mi. I think it's all going to come down to her. She's going to be like a crucial point in so many facets of this story. We'll circle to her in a second, but especially with Father June's situation getting worse and worse, like he has moments of clarity like he did outside. I even love, oh, Father June, why are you out here just in your pajamas? And Father June's like, Hong? He's like, yes, sir. Shut up and go inside. He's like, yes, sir. Because Young June kind of attributes it to, right, it's just a fever, like probably like the infection kind of gave him a fever and kind of, but like I said, maybe there was an underlining issue, like it was always going to be there, but maybe like the gunshot wound and the infection and everything kind of like accelerated what would have already been there, the potential like Alzheimer's or dementia that he might have already been maybe potentially predisposed to, especially at a time where it's like you wouldn't be able to really like medically search for that or really kind of recognize the signs of that at this point in time. That's why it's just kind of like Young June just was like, oh, it's just a fever making you hallucinate or whatever, and it's just his mind is slipping, and Young June already kind of blames Assam for that, and the worse it gets, the more he's going to blame Assam, and the more he's going to be listening to his father's words of, I probably do need to be worried about Assam, because his father's already confirming stuff he's been feeling for a while now, and it's just becoming more and more prevalent. I'm curious, the moment he finds out maybe about what's happening with the Long Z, that for one, it's like, right, it proves my point that Mylene is more of a threat and we need to be wary of her, but Assam will probably be a little more, because he's like, right, this peace and everything is good, like, we don't have to kind of throw that, destroy that, but Young June's like, nah, I don't buy that. He made that clear last episode, he makes it clear this episode too, he's not buying the whole peace thing, it's not going to last forever, so he, it's like, right, this wedding and everything's one thing, it's like, yeah, there's peace for now, but it's only a matter of time, so it's like, Young June's paranoia and willingness to, like, go against Mylene, because he doesn't like Mylene, has never liked Mylene, hates her in fact, so that he's a lot more quicker to want to go to war. But the problem is, so is Mylene, and then Assam's kind of stuck in the middle where he doesn't want to go to war. He wants there to be peace between his brother, between his best friend and his sister. Like, he's torn between the family he found and made versus the family that's blood, which is going to be thicker in this case, And when the time comes, much like Leong having to protect the woman he loves, Assam is probably going to be in that same situation twofold, because it's going to be like that. Because there's going to be like I don't think the Yan Mi thing is going to work out well, because she's going to be in a complicated spot too. I'll get to that in a second, but these next two episodes, dude, it's all coming to a head, and I just don't know who's going to make it out of this alive and where everything's going to stand. Because I wonder if, for whatever reason, Assam did take the tong from Young June, would people like Hong fall in line, or would they have an issue too? I could definitely see a thing of, when this is all said and done, I could see Assam like walking away from the tong, just because it's like, right, they cross him and they do some effed up stuff. Young June does some effed up stuff, and instead of killing Young June, because of their history, he lets him go. Like, so like the opposite of the Kong Pak, and but maybe it's like, we're forever problems. We have problems. It's like, you walk away, don't ever come back type of thing, of like, that bridge will be burnt type of thing. So I could easily see Assam walking away and kind of doing his own thing. I mean, it might even force him to join the Long Z, depending on if Leong's in the picture or not. Maybe Sam and Young Jun are like have a falling out. Lee Young's no longer in the picture because maybe like either Mylene killed him or maybe Assam had to kill him just to protect his sister. And when it's all said and done, maybe in the long run, Assam does join his sister on the Long Z side of things. To be fair, like Young Jun's issues with Yan Mi would have never came up if it wasn't for his sister implanting that. Once again, we also have to go back to the point of everything Mai Ling is doing is for herself, but also she's going to fuck over Chinatown. She already made her deal with Buckley of like she wants to steer shit up and get the streets running red with blood. Like she's doing all this so she can take over the Hopway territories. But when it's all said and done, will she have anyone by her side? Will she have her brother by her side? Maybe she'll have him instead of Leon. Like I don't think Leon's surviving this season. I think he's dead. How that turns about is either going to be by her hand directly or it's going to be indirectly with an Assam situation. We'll have to wait and see. So, but since I keep bringing up Yami, the sad thing, because like obviously like Chow and Assam had this conversation about love, and you know, because he's just like, oh, it's not real because Young Jun was like, yeah, like you can enjoy your sticky or whatever, that's fine, she's great and all, but don't fall in love, and he kind of has. And Chow was like, right, just because something's rare doesn't mean it's not real, because he wanted to kind of push it aside, like, right, it's kind of a fantasy, like that's all it is, it's not real. So kind of like the crazy things people will do for love type of situation. So, but talking with Young Jun about like, oh, her position and her part and everything of like her being the only printer and stuff and got to train up other people. He even talks to her later on. It's like, yeah, Young Jun is going to get rid of you the moment he doesn't need you anymore. The moment you teach. I mean, she already knew what time it was, but now she has his confirmation that even he's reading it that way. Like, yeah, that seemed like that was, she already was kind of feeling that vibe, but she wasn't sure. Because it's like, I'm still useful, but now it's like the moment you finish, like Young Jun, like now when he has other people who can print just as good as you, he won't need you anymore. And he's like, that's when you need to take a trip. You might need to take that trip at that time. But the complicated thing is, Lee's here with a badge and everything, and he is in a complicated position because, well, he knows Chinatown enough to be like, all right, the Long Z and the Hopway joining, being like peaceful like this is kind of weird. It's like maybe there's a kind of a business arrangement, which obviously Lee reads, like he's learned enough about Chinatown and how things work here to know like, okay, I see what time it is. So he knows something's up. And so him and Chow talk where it's like, right, we went through what we went through. The fact of the matter is, I know where you come from. I know what you've done. You've saved lives. You've taken lives. Like, even Chow going as far as, like, you would probably be happier and better off not wearing that badge. Because it's like, I thought you were away from all this. He's like, well, do you have more cousins that you had to kill that I didn't know about? It's like, no, but because Chow has this complicated respect for Lee because it's like, hey, I see what you've been through. I understand why you did what you did. We both have our histories because Lee also learned about Chow being like a slave and what he had been through, seeing the marks on his back. So there's this camaraderie they had after their experience. It brought them closer together, but now it is that thing of we're back on opposite sides. He doesn't want to be here. Mosley kind of forced his hand. So, but Lee is also torn between, like, despite the bad I've done, there is some good I want to do. Because it's like, right, this is the only way he could protect the life him and Abigail are building for themselves. And it's like, he'll be finally free without having to worry about that always lingering over his shoulder of, like, the bad he's done. And it kind of, I think, coincides with, like, Abigail's situation of, like, I misquoted it last episode. I was like, okay, the world is bad, and you kind of have to be bad. It's like, the word specifically was crooked, because that's the episode title. It was like, right, you have to be crooked in a crooked world. That's the only way you're going to survive. And he tries so hard to hold on to the good person that he could be, that he is, that he believes him to be, because he wants to believe there's some good in the world. But it's, once again, it's not like he's fully doing this of his own volition and beliefs. It's because his hands are being forced by Mosley. So, you know, but he sees Yan Mi at the wedding, and he's like, right, he went with Mosley to her father's place, and it's like, you're here at a wedding that the Long Z, it's a Long Z wedding, but you're, and the Hopway here is like, that's weird. And also, like, because, well, I'm assuming the shop is in Hopway territory, obviously. So when it's all said and done, he sees the two of them sees Assam and her making out. So it's like, right, you're going to be the connected thread. He might start busting, checking stuff out, and he might find the counterfeit money and force her hand. It's like, right, you're the printer. You need to show me what blah, 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 blah. Like, he's going to force her hand. And if she turns on the hopway, she's dead. If Young June finds out about her printing money, she's dead. So Lee is going to force her hand, not realizing the consequences. He's going to be a complicated situation he's going to put her in. He's going to be like, hey, self-preservation, you'll save yourself by throwing the hopway under the bus. But it's like, and that's just going to drive the tensions between Young June and Assam in the hopway even deeper. I mean, I didn't talk about it, but it's like, yeah, his dad's situation is getting worse to the point he pulled a knife on Young June, cut his neck a little bit. That could easily gone the other way. I was scared because I was like, yo, is Young June going to accidentally kill his father in this moment? He didn't, but it might be a moment where he might have to put his dad down. That might be the final nail in the coffin where he has to do that. Or it might just be a thing of, hey, I'm going to lock my dad up. No one let him out. He'll just stay in his room. I'll come visit him every once in a while. I'll let him live out his days kind of in this this haze that his mind is in. So we'll see how that all plays out, but it's like, oh, everything is completely and utterly fucked in Chinatown because it's like the lines in the sand and just things are blurry and complicated right now. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how that all plays out. We have Bill, because his wife Lucy talked to her sister, who talked to her husband, is now giving him a job, and it's like, oh, you got to look at the books. And I love the guy. He said something. And Bill's like, I know what that means. He's like, oh, of course you do. He's like, as long as you know simple math, you can do the job. That's the problem. Like, you can tell it rubs Bill the wrong way because it's like, you think I'm an idiot. There's that. But also, like, I only got this job. Like, before I thought this is the type of job I was going to get it regardless. But now I'm only getting the job because my wife complained to her sister, who complained to her husband, who now Horace has to give me the job. You know, it's a little, I think, it shrinks your pride a little bit. So I think later on when he had his moment, they're like, yo, I got big burly balls and I'm going to prove it. I think that's extra motivation for why he had to do what he had to do. I ain't complaining about what he had to do though. Because obviously, you know, we're living in Buckley's world and, you know, you have Leary wanting to take advantage of that, but Douglas is like, nah, man, put a kibosh on that. I'm not going to let you waste our favors helping out with some stupid stuff about some guys that got arrested. You want to deal with the Atwood situation? Find another way. It's like, yeah, Atwood's not going to buy it. It's like, yeah, but it's like, you got to prove yourself of like, if you can't figure this situation out, what good are you to anyone? So, okay. So Buckley, has to deal with the fact is that the Donahue boys are getting charged even more so, and it's going to assault charges, and it's going to be, no, it wasn't even assault charges. It was something else, wasn't it? Like, no, they were going to get like, their sentencing was going to be pretty heavy. So the father is like jumping down his throat saying like, right, my boys and your boys, they grew up together, they played together. Like that could have just as easily been and Leary shut that shit down quick. It's like, watch your damn mouth, go home. Just go home, drink it up. And it's like, oh, look at you, Leary. You did all this. You just stepped on our backs to get your position. It's like, shut up. Like, I don't like Leary and how he goes about things, but he is that character where you understand why he does what he does. You don't agree with it at all, but it's still the thing of so many people underestimate why he does what he does. He's always looked out for them, and it just feels like no matter how much he tries, it's never good enough. Because it's like, motherfuckers, you weren't in the room when I was trying to make deals. And to be fair, the first thing he wanted to do was the Donahue thing, but it's like because of what Douglas said, he backed down. But he did ultimately find another way. Not intentionally. Bill helped him out because, well, Bill was like, I can't do anything about Atwood. He's not going to listen to me. Also, none of the cops there are going to listen to me. Yeah, we have years of history, but none of them are going to sacrifice their jobs because they've got families to look after. And Bill's like, you know what? Fuck it. Once again, big balls Bill was like, no, I got this. You know, he went to the guy and was like, yo, you need to let them out. And the guy's like, I can't do it, Bill. He's like, I wasn't fucking asking. Do it. And so they do it because it's like, right, he got rid of me. Who's to say he won't get rid of all of you in a moment? So it's like, that guy is just, he's a sanctimonious prick. And the fact of the matter is, the moment you kind of step out of line, don't follow his orders directly, he's going to get rid of you too, because you're all expendable. The only person that isn't, which is the guy that I guess is his right-hand guy. I don't think he brought him from New York. Maybe it's just some suck-up that's falling in line. Either way, they let the Donahue boys out. Atwood was like, yo, arrest Bill and Larry. But the guy was like, I can't do it, sir. My cuffs are upstairs. And Atwood was like, all right, you want to be like that, Bill? Let's duke it out. I knock you down. You and Larry get arrested. If you knock me out, they get to walk away free. And Bill was like, no, I'm not about to do this. I'm not stupid enough to hit the boom. Went to Dukes. And, Bill was kind of on the losing. I was like, please don't make Bill lose this. I was like, there's no way they're going to let him lose this. And then he's like, please stop. And he's like, oh, you calling go? He's like, please stop talking. I was like, yeah. That's that ass whooping where you're like, yeah. Not Bill's intention, but there's a part of me that's like, Young June's kind of getting his revenge a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, Atwood laid down that ass whooping, and he's getting that ass whooping in return. It's like, I like, once again, I loved Mosley putting him in his goddamn place, and now I love Bill laying his ass out. It's like, right, I might not be a cop anymore, but you're sure as hell no fucking chief. And boom! I was like, God, that ass whooping felt good. Once again, it's that thing of, man, who knew you'd be rooting for Bill the racist? It's once again, he's that character like, man, you not like it was, you have a very like hate relationship, not love, like when it came to Bill. And obviously he chilled out so much in between season 2 and 3. He chilled out so much. He was actually he's a much better person now. But yeah, it felt good. Love that he goes home and is I even love the entire time, like, Larry's like, put your hand, yeah, keep your fucking hands up. Bill, I said, keep your fucking hands up. It's like getting advice from Larry. Because, I was about to say, Larry was in there. He would tap that up real good. But the fact of the matter is, to be fair, Larry's in his medical condition that he doesn't really know about. That's probably going to be his major undoing this season. It might even happen at the end of the season. I don't know. Either way, when it's all said and done, Bill went home and his wife was like, what the fuck happened to you? It's like, I had a fight. With who? Atwood. It's like, okay. And he's drinking, she's drinking. It's like, are they going to arrest you? And he's like, yeah. Did you at least get the Donahue boys out? He's like, yeah. And they're probably going to arrest me. Probably not. The rest are going to probably fall in line behind you, but I don't know how Atwood is he has so much pride he probably won't. Because I legitimately think if he arrested you, everyone would lose respect for him. Because he's like, you lost, take your lickings and let it go. Because it's like, if you do that, you're a bitch. Like, I guarantee you, like, Atwood wouldn't want to arrest Bill because he knows it'll make him look like a bitch if he does. So, we'll see how that plays out. That's going to be interesting. But I love this, the quiet scene of just, Bill offering his wife another drink. She's like, yeah, I'll take it. And because she drank out the bottle first, he hands her the cup. He drinks out the bottle and that's the scene. So it's going to be interesting to see where that takes us. And then finally, like a little stinger at the end, we have, lying in wait because she got a job as a maid at Douglas's place waiting for strike, which I love the poetic, he's got the candle in her hands and blows it out. So, that's definitely interesting. I completely forgot to talk about Atoy's situation. She was happy when she saw Assam and Yami making out because she's happy for her. But you could tell it probably also made her think about Nelly and what she kind of lost in the process of everything. But nah, Home Dude jumped her. I was like, oh, okay, we doing this. And then, God, very Mortal Kombat wise, like, oh, got a razor blade, razor sharp, fan that you're killing and slicing throats with. I'm like, yeah. Bit the guy's off. He's like, you bit my nose off and killed him. I was like, well, I don't love when Sam shows up like, oh, are you okay? She's like, yeah, this is why I hate weddings. It's like, okay, so that was resolved. I knew Home Dude was going to still come with the smoke despite my Ling's point, but I love that, like, Atoy handled that. So it's like, yeah, that's nothing to worry about. But she doesn't know about lies. I mean, we already kind of set that up last episode. Lie was, once again, lying in wait. That's going to have massive consequences because either Lie's not going to have the opportunity, like, because Douglas won't recognize Lai, but Douglas's right-hand dude is going to probably remember her. So, but luckily for her, it's a racist time where it's like, oh, all Chinese people look alike. So they're not going to she has that benefit where, yeah, racism is going to be her cover for this because they're not going to recognize her. It's like, oh, how can I distinguish another Chinese woman from another? It's going to be that type of shit, right? So we'll see. I just think Lai's going to do this and it's going to blow up in her face and she's going to get killed or whatever, and that's going to send Atoy spiraling, or just Lai's going to get her revenge and that's going to have massive consequences or fallout. Maybe lead to some issues with Chinatown, especially with the whole Douglas and Buckley of it all. I'm curious to see how that plays out. So, like I brought up, there's only 2 episodes left of the season, so I've thrown out my ideas and theories about potentially how this will all play out, but it's still up in the air, whether some of that is going to be true, all of it might be true of what I think might happen, or none of it is, because it could play out so many different ways to fall out to all of this. So we shall see where the next episode takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.